there's so many different things you could say about Hunter Biden. I mean, first and foremost, we have to revisit the story of how he got kicked out of the military for testing positive for doing cocaine. Now, his story, which is unbelievable, is that he was at a bar, stepped outside of the bar to smoke a cigarette, was offered a cigarette by some unknown individual, smoked the cigarette, left the bar, was driving home, and realized halfway there that there was something in the cigarette and that somehow he had been drugged. I mean, that's really his excuse for testing positive for cocaine. But I mean, this is a guy who, you look at Burisma Holdings, I've looked into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Their entire business model is in Kazakhstan and Ukraine to point out to people that the reason you want to work with us is we are in tight with the West. We are not one of these like corrupt oligarchic companies. And they were like holding up. We got Hunter Biden, we got Cofer Black, we got all these other people, and they're like they're using this to get business. And so this is obviously classic. People do this all the time with boards. Like the people on the board are totally unqualified and are only there because they know other more important people who can then solidify, well, shit, if Joe Biden's son is on it and the fucking former head of the CIA counterterrorism center is on it, they got to be connected in America. This has to be legitimate, and this is going to be good for us because then we're not going to get caught up in being some sort of like Russian gas company. We'll be able to exploit all this on the right side of the geopolitical framing in order to make the money. And then somehow you've got Democrats like, oh, he didn't do anything corrupt at all. What are you talking? Obviously, this kid has only succeeded in life because he's traded off of his father's name and is a complete loser and fuck up. And, not the first or the last rich person to be that way. But why you would want to construct a narrative that somehow this is like fake and he's really like an upstanding good person. It's like all you're doing is playing into the you think you're standing up to Trump, but you're making his point for him by so obviously ignoring that this kid is just a fail son trust fund kid. I mean, what is the purpose of this?
I have to, unfortunately, I agreed with everything you say, and I might be the only person in the country, but I'm a Hunter Biden lover. I love Hunter Biden. I loved seeing Hunter Biden at the DNC and Hunter being like mega fucked up on coke and leaving the army. That's actually like baller as hell. And I like that. And like there's stories about like Hunter like doing crack for 3 days and like the strippers that he was with had to go like buy dildos for him and shit. I'm like, Hunter rocks. And if anything, to get my vote, put
Hunter on the ticket.
Not everybody else, not everyone else in America, but to win my vote, Hunter Biden is the only road to me voting for Joe Biden. More Hunter and more
and less Bo.
And nothing but Hunter. I want nothing but Hunter is what I want.
I used to live near that strip club where they said he was smoking crack. But apparently he was nice about it. And when they were like, yo, you can't smoke any crack in here, he was like, oh, I'm sorry. And
that is nice.
Hunter, to me, I've watched videos of Hunter and stuff like that. You're absolutely right. Of course, it's ridiculous that this guy who was on a fucking that's why I love Hunter, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Because Hunter's just this guy that he's like, I love crack.
Hunter's gonna hunt.
Then he's like, I love crack. And then like his dad's vice president, he's like, I'm working for fucking the Ukrainian oil company or whatever.
You got $1 million?
I just really am like into drugs or whatever. Like I like drugs and fucking around.
When I saw that,
worked for George W. Bush.
I like Hunter. I think Hunter's very likable. I'm not kidding. I think he's the most likable of the Bidens. I didn't like that part. I somehow I missed that. Did he talk or he just appeared?
It was in a little montage. He talked, but they put him in a little suit. It was not done well. It was not done well.
Yeah, no, it was a little.
But when I saw him doing an interview with, I don't remember who it was, but he was very like totally honest about his addiction stuff. I felt and he's married now to a nice Jewish girl. He converted. I think they have shalom tattoos or something. I don't care about that part at all. I just think it's kind of funny.
Married his dead brother's wife like 2 weeks later.
I don't think they got married. I think they just dated. That's true. Yeah, no, they dated.
They hooked up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Hey, what are you gonna do? Hunter's a wild guy. That's wild times. Hunter's a wild
if there's anything you expect from Hunter, it's that he will hook up with his dead brother's widow, right?
Like,
okay. Well, someone here is trying to disagree with me, saying they've known that people dip cigarettes. Look, I've known people who've done a lot of shit.
I think that was
but in reality, obviously, he was snorting coke in this bar
you
and
can
got
dip
caught.
cigarettes in coke. What actually happened is this: Hunter did coke and then also smoked a cigarette that was dipped in coke that he dipped in coke, and he was like, maybe that's enough. Maybe I'll get away with it if I say I just smoked the cigarette. But he did mega coke. You don't test positive for coke on smoking a fucking cigarette.
No, the guy who was like giving him bumps on the urinal or whatever, he's doing lines off the urinal, and it's like, hey man, you want to go smoke a cigarette?
I have to be honest with you. If you're the guy that spent 3 days in a strip club on crack, you're not getting kicked out of the army for like dipping a cigarette in cocaine.
How do we get Hunter Biden and Duncan Hunter together? That's what I want. I want Duncan Hunter and Hunter Biden together. That's like a straight. When I heard Duncan Hunter, the Republican who got 30 shots at Tortilla Coast. He's now, I think, in jail or whatever, but his father was also Hunter. He was like a right-wing Republican. He was like a veteran Navy SEAL. According to him, he had like a lot of PTSD. Him and his wife were spending all the campaign funds for their own shit. And then when it came out that he was like partying super hard, was always drunk. At one point, he bought 30 shots on his campaign credit card at Tortilla Coast, which is like a big place where Capitol Hill people party. And yeah, he was living it up. There's no doubt about it. His wife turned state's evidence on him too. She broke spousal privilege to roll him, and partially because he rolled her under the bus. He was like, my wife did all the books. I don't know anything about it.
Wow.
So she broke spousal privilege and was like, no. So he settled, I think, so he doesn't have to go to jail, but he had to give up his seat. But yeah, Duncan Hunter, 30 shots at Tortilla Coast.
I want to see a hangover with Duncan Hunter, Hunter Biden, Jerry Falwell Jr., and Donald Trump Jr.
Let's write that.
I want to see that.
Jerry Falwell Jr. Woo.
Oh man.
I mean, coming from like down there in Jerry Falwell country, Lynchburg is not that far from Charlottesville. So back in the day, Jerry Falwell was a big dude, and Pat Robertson. So to see his son fall so far. The last photo of him on the boat, pants slightly unzipped.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, what was that? Yeah,
I've been following the thing from the beginning.
He also was on the board on the board of Amtrak.
That was Hunter Biden.
Sorry.
Another senator gave Hunter Biden a recommendation for that, and his qualification was that he rode Amtrak a lot.
Yeah, I know. Who was the senator who did that?
I don't know.
Duncan Hunter's. Oh, the senator that. Okay,
some old guy who I think may be dead. I'm gonna say
no. He's still alive. I think.
Was it Ted Kaufman?
No.
Okay, I don't know. Some Delaware senator. All I know is
Carper.
Only because people are still talking about it in the chat. Only because people are still talking about it in the chat. Yes, it's possible. You could test possible for cocaine from dipping in a cigarette. No, that's not what happened with Hunter. I guarantee it. $1,000,000%.
Yeah.